I was, I was surprised in 2004, 40 years after Kitty Genovese's death, I was surprised to read an interview with Marianne Zalanko in the Queen's newspaper, Newsday. Marianne revealed for the first time in the press that she was Kitty's lover and that they lived together in Kew Gardens, Queens. I wanted to hear more of Kitty's story, and I contacted the Newsday reporter, Jeff Perlman, and he graciously gave me Marianne's address. I wrote to Marianne, and she agreed to be interviewed. While I was interviewing her, I wanted to assure her that I was sincere in my interest in her story. In the beginning of our conversation, we spoke about New York, and she told me what it was like to be gay during the 1960s. We talked about living on the West Side and me being Italian like Kitty. In the back of my mind, while we were talking, I kept wondering how I would be able to ask her what happened on the night of the murder. How do you ask someone, what is it like when your lover is murdered? Suddenly, Marianne said to me, I'm going to tell you what happened. She then proceeded to recount what had happened that night and the days after in her present life. The story of that night just poured out of her. It is a powerful and heart-wrenching story. Shortly after my interview with Marianne in September of 2004, I was invited by the actress, playwright Marge Kahn to perform at the Gay and Lesbian Theater Festival in Columbus, Ohio. I wrote a 15-minute monologue based on my interview with Marianne, performing at the festival, wearing a sweatshirt and blue jeans with my hair pulled back. I told her story. And I gave it one of the longest titles ever. It seems that's something I do often. 38 witnessed her death. I witnessed her love, the lonely secret of Marianne Zalanko, Kitty Genovese's story. And there was a demand for a longer play, and I added 2 more characters, the New York Times editor A.M. Rosenthal and the convicted murderer Winston Moseley. I used Mosley's courtroom transcript for his dialogue, but I never used a personal pronoun before each of his sentences. I performed the play in 2006 at the Provincetown Fringe Festival for Women's Week. I'm going to try to share this. I think maybe you could help me.
Oh, of course.
Just stay here, I'm sorry. A little low tech. Just can you help me share that image?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. It's hidden. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you. And then maybe you could just stick here. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. In 2009, I decided to perform the play at the New York International Fringe Festival. I enjoy working with dancers and choreographers. I like their visual approach. I asked the dancer choreographer Jody Oberfelder if she would direct me and choreograph the dancers. Jody also performed with her dancers, Bryn Billingsley, Jake Shapika, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and Sheila Taravasi. Jody choreographed 2 dances, a chalk dance using a chalk outline similar to chalk outlines on the street depicting a dead body, and another, a bar scene with Kitty and Marianne. And we can take this away, please. Marianne attended the performance, the opening performance with her partner, Rebecca. With Marianne in the audience, it was difficult for me to perform. I was aware she was there, especially when I had to speak of the murder of Kitty. And I just kept worrying about Annie. Marianne sitting there, reliving that horrible night. When the play was over, I announced that Marianne was in the audience, and she got a standing ovation. And now I'm going to read you some of my monologue as Marianne, based on our interview. I can never forget her smile. Kitty was the most wonderful person in my life. I can still remember her face after all these years. I can still see her in my mind. She was very Italian looking, very chiseled features, dark hair. She was only 5 feet tall, a very likable person, very vibrant, where I'm quiet. So we were complimentary. She had a great smile. I met Kitty at Seven Steps, a gay bar on West Houston. I've been going there since I came to New York when I was 15, and I was living on my own. I was working as a teletype operator for Western Union, where I met Kitty at Seven Steps. We hit it off right away. Kitty was lively, very energetic, with big brown eyes. I was living in a rooming house at 76th Street and Broadway, and she says, well, you know, I'd like to see you again. So I said, well, I don't have a phone. I come home one night from work, and I find a note on the rooming house door. We'll call you at the street corner phone booth at 7, Kitty G. She found out where I lived and called me at that payphone that night in New York City. How can you do that? How could she find me? It was meant to be, for 1 year anyway. 1 year exactly to the day. I was 25, she was 26, and we were happy for 1 year, for one of the happiest years of my life. We moved into a hotel in Queens, and then we got an apartment in Kew Gardens by the Long Island Railroad Station, 8270 Austin Street. They were Tudor-style buildings with stores below, an upholstery store, a bar. Kitty was working as a manager at a sports bar in Jamaica. Ebb's 11th hour, and I got a job at Club Chris too. We used to talk about our lives together and maybe opening a bar one day together. On the night of March 12th, I went bowling with our friend Gloria. I came home around 11:30, and went to bed. Kitty was working late at the bar because she was the manager. I keep thinking of that night and Kitty coming home alone late, 3 in the morning, parking her car. She had that little red Fiat. Parking that car at the railroad station, walking to our place. I wonder when Kitty realized that this guy was following her. Me, the person who was like 2 seconds away from her, and I didn't know she was dying. That is my visual image of this, that she was right here and I didn't know it, because I went bowling with our friend Gloria that night, and I went home and went to sleep, and the next thing I know, the cops are knocking at my door. I was all alone at the trial. None of our friends wanted to be at the trial. Remember, this is 1964. My friends were afraid they would be harassed. We were lovers together, and everybody tried to hush that up. I've suffered through these last days talking about it for the first time in 40 years, the anniversary and the publicity. But at least I feel acknowledged, that we'll never forget her smile. It was meant to be. For 1 year anyway, Marian Zalanko and Kitty Genovese, we were lovers together. Marian lives in Vermont with her partner, Rebecca Jones. They've been together now since 2000. Marian was unable to be here today. I'm going to read you a message from Marianne. Kitty was the miracle of my life. She brought joy to me, and we had a wonderful, albeit short, life together. Marianne, if you're watching, I want to thank you for sharing your story with me and our friendship and all your memories of Kitty. I love you, Marianne. And here's to the memory of Kitty Genovese. Thank you.